Okay, this is a video which actually through which I wanted to send a message to the African Union Commission chairperson. The African Union, as we all know, was championed by the late Libyan leader, Muammar Gaddafi, who worked so hard to establish and to put together this African Union. And the whole idea of the African Union is actually to try to collect the African countries, the African leaders, to jointly try to indigenize the solutions for problems of Africa. It is meant to make or to get African solutions for African problems. That was the whole idea. And since the establishment of the African Union, and before it the African organization, the Organization of African Unity, the performance of the African Union was so poor, and that poor performance was clear that there is no African problem ever solved by the African Union. It was just a body which was made to look for solution outside of Africa. They run after the United Nations. They run after United States of America. They run after the European Union. They try to get the solution outside of Africa that serves the interest of countries outside of Africa, and to bring it in Africa and project it to be an African solution. We all know that even though the former leader of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, who championed the establishment of the African Union when Libya was attacked by the American and the European and destroyed the country and they killed the leader, the African Union was sitting and watching. They did nothing, absolutely nothing. They didn't do anything. And that was just a trend. What happened in Libya, where the African Union was watching the country that championed the establishment of the African Union being destroyed by the Europeans and the Americans, and they did nothing to protect it. It continued. It happened. And unfortunately, those countries, they come with the idea that they are bringing democracy to Africa or democracy to the world. And we know from experience there is no country in the world that has seen democracy through the intervention of the American or the Europeans. They went to Libya, they did not bring democracy. They went to Iraq, they destroyed the country, they did not bring democracy. They went to Syria, they destroyed the country, they did not bring democracy. They went to Afghanistan, they destroyed the country, they did not bring democracy. They went to Somalia, they destroyed the country, they did not bring democracy, and now they want to come to Sudan, and they have already destroyed the Sudan. In the name of that, they wanted to bring democracy. And the African Union is sitting and doing nothing, and they have very strange attitude. I don't know whether it is part of the constitutions or of the rules of the African Union. Whenever there is a problem in an African country, the first thing the African Commission do is to suspend the country from the membership of the African Union. What idea is that? When there is a problem in a country, the African Union should interfere, should engage to try to solve that problem. But what they do, they suspend and then they sit and wait. And then they look for it. They have done that in Sudan, they have done that in Mali, they have done that in Niger, they have done that in Burkina Faso. and they just continue to do that, and they don't learn from their mistake. It renders them useless, absolutely useless. If there is a country in Niger or Burkina Faso or Mali or Sudan, you are supposed to go and engage with the official government and try to solve the problem. But you suspend them and then you sit. And unfortunately, when there is another mediator, Americans and the Saudi Arabia come to make negotiations, then the African Union send the commission. Why are you sending a representation to the negotiations in Jeddah? Why are you sending it? Because you are supposed to be the one who's champion the negotiations in Africa, not to Saudi Arabia, not in Geneva. Why do you send a mission to go there while you are supposed to be the leader in solving the problem within Africa? You know, this just confirms the idea of the white man, the colonial powers, that Africans have the slave mentality. They only know how to follow, they don't know how to lead. That is exactly the slave mentality, that they cannot lead, they cannot take initiatives. They just follow. Whenever the white master goes, they follow him. If they go to Saudi Arabia, they go to Saudi Arabia. If they say the United Nations in Geneva, they go to Geneva. If they say New York, they go to New York. But they never sit down and as African and try to solve the problem. Why? What is the use of the African Union now? And what rendered this absolutely useless in the case of Sudan is unfortunately the coincidence which happened that the chairman of the African Union Commission happened to be from Chad. That is Mr. Musa Faki Muhammad. Mr. Musa is from Chad, and he was part of the Chadian government. And the Chadian government position is very clear now in this war. That is against Sudan, and it is supporting the rebel, and it is supporting United Arab Emirates to channel weapons from United Arab Emirates to Darfur and to Sudan. That is what happened. And the African Union Commission and the African Union General Assembly, nobody talked to the chairman of the commission that his position is not in the Chadian government, his position in the African Union. And that what makes it actually absolutely useless. It's absolutely useless when Mr. Musa deal with the situation like he's a Chadian. Then we are going nowhere. We are just standing in our position, and now we are actually rendering the African Union itself as against the government of Sudan, because that is exactly the position now. The African Union is against the government of Sudan, is against the people of Sudan, is against the official ruling government in Sudan because of the position of the chairman, because he's a Chadian, because this is a position of because he's a Chadian, and because of that, now we are in a position where the African Union actually become part of the problem instead of becoming part of the solution. Because what they did, they are talking to the same group of Tagadum and of the whatever the other Gaht or whatever, those opposition leaders who created the problem in Sudan. They are talking to them, they are making workshops, they are making meetings to solve the problem. How could you ask the person who makes the problem to solve the problem? If they knew how to solve the problem, if they have interest to solve the problem, they wouldn't have made the problem in the first place. But the whole approach for the African Union is wrong. And the African Union, not only in the case of Sudan, in the case of Sudan, in the case of Mali, in the case of Niger, in the case of Libya, in the case of Burkina Faso, they are supposed to be leaders in solving the problem. They are supposed to take the initiative and seek support from other international organizations if need happen to be. But if there is no need, they are supposed to find the solution as for the African problems as African Union. This situation actually make the African Union absolutely useless. If this is how the African Union is supposed to operate, then there is no point of having the African Union in the first place, because it has never done anything for the African people. And this mentality of the African Union commissioners is absolutely slavery mentality, that they wanted to follow what they have been told from outside Africa, but they are never making efforts to make an initiative to create a solution for the African problems. That is not going to help, and that is actually going to give a chance for the international organization, for the international powers, for the colonial powers to come back and to colonize Africa through different means, not necessarily through armies, but they will colonize Africa through decision makings, because Africa lacks the bodies that make decisions for it so that it can solve its own problem. This is a message that I'm sending to the African Union commissioners and to the African Union Commission chairperson, and I will send it to the African Union Assembly, General Assembly, when it happens, because we have to find a way that we send this message to the African leaders that the African Union should either be a strong body that seeks to solve the problem of African countries, or there is no point of appointing commissioners and chairperson for the commission. There is no point of that, because it is absolutely doing nothing, particularly for important issues that related to the securities of the people, whether it is food security, whether it is the political stability, or whether it is security situation for the being. The African people, more and more, they are becoming poorer, they are becoming displaced, they are crossing the sea, they are drowning in the sea trying to go to Europe. It is all because of the poor management of African resources, and because of the poor performance of the commissioners of the African Union, and in particularly the chairperson of the African Union Commission. This message, I hope it will reach them and it will make sense to them, so that they can actually do something about it. And that is the end of my